to respect the game.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Respect the Game podcast, presented to you by ONV, our Neutral Voices link. Here we discuss more than just the game. We talk about mindset, discipline, and growth that contributes both on and off the field and on and off the court. My name is Taya Andrews, and I'm going to be your host today. Here I have my co-host. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, how you doing? I'm Coach Ayers.
Hello, my name is Virgil Tharp.
And on the end, Bruce Stevens, Coach Bruce Stevens.
Thank you all for tuning back with us on a wonderful Thursday night. Here we got a couple nice topics to talk to you about. First, we're going to kick it off with some things going on here in our local community. Virgil, can you go ahead and kind of talk to us kind of about the developmental league that's kind of going on for student athletes here in our community?
Well, I am the District Athletic Director for Fort Wayne Community Schools. Past year, our superintendent has put a task on me to find ways to further develop our student athletes with a focus on lower levels, predominantly first grade through eighth grade. With that challenge, we have created a different structure for particular sports that will allow us to enhance the development for our kids internally, while still being respectful to education-based athletics. We believe through this, we will be able to strengthen our high school teams and create platforms for athletes who desire to go to the next level, whether that be college or to professionals.
That's amazing what you're doing for the community. And how did you guys kind of come up with this idea?
Well, there's multiple models throughout the country. Realistically, this is the first large district to take this type of approach. Typically, it's a single school feeder where there may be one high school, maybe two middle schools, and a handful of elementary, which is a lot easier because everyone is coming to one particular high school. Through our district with 5 high schools and being a school of choice, individuals can go to one school one year, another school a different year, just off of their maybe they move or just on their interests. So one of the biggest things that we want to adhere to is stopping kids from jumping from school to school, building continuity and tradition through each in particular pipeline. And so we want to just change the narrative. We want to invest in our youth, starting from the top all the way down.
Absolutely.
So.
That's amazing. And kind of in terms of your role in all of this, kind of explain kind of, your leadership and, kind of what you plan to do, and kind of what you're looking forward to moving forward with this program.
Well, my role for the district is to support athletics K through 12. I love athletics. I've coached soccer, football. You could probably tell by my shoulders. I'm 5'7". Basketball wasn't my thing because I like to hit people. But growing up, we played all our sports. Yeah. We learned how to compete by playing these different sports. Mm-hmm. And through that competitive nature, we've kind of found our honus on what sport we might drive to. A lot of our kids are not going outside to the playground to play kickball, to play dodgeball, to jump off of trees. So they aren't being exposed to different athletic activities that doesn't really encourage the opportunity to go in and explore different sports. Mm-hmm. So a lot of specialization is taking place. I would like to introduce that multi-sport athlete at an early age by exposing sports that are conducive to development and skill with mindset, and just a respect for the game as a whole. We need to encourage more kids to get out and be active compared to learning football through playing Madden.
So you're going to be doing multiple sports with the elementaries, middle schools, and with the high school too, I take it.
Correct. We will utilize our head coaches as our experts. They'll be in charge of development through their whole pipeline. So as a head coach, they'll have an opportunity to build their program from the ground up and with the support of their staff, and we'll also create an infrastructure that allows that to take place. So from the moment a kid is in first grade, I see themselves as a Panther, as a Bruin, as a general, as a legend, as an archer, from the time they come into our district and the time they graduate.
So
it sounds like-
I just want to say this real quick. So with the ongoing sports that's ongoing community metro and the POW, where do they fit in as far as the approach of what you got going on?
Well, we call this our pipeline strategy. Our community partners will remain our community partners. We PAL Metro, we still have existing partnerships, but we also have to take ownership of our own product of what we want. We for years for lower levels, whether it be middle school, early middle school, we rely on third parties, other organizations to develop our kids.
Yes.
But there's a component that is also missed, and that's the education part. Regardless, as an athlete, you got to come to school. You got to get the grades. You have to be able to graduate to go to college to eventually go to the pros. So a lot of times we love our kids, when they go out to these third parties and then they come back, the respect of the education piece isn't always there. So we have to retrain them and getting them to respect that component of being a student athlete.
Yeah.
And through that, we lose a lot of athletes just on that academic piece alone.
Yeah.
Which causes also some behavioral components, because now the one thing that a lot of our kids love and yearn for is taken away because they didn't pass choir.
Yeah.
Or they weren't studious enough, and a lot of our athletes, in particular myself, were prideful. We don't want to ask for help.
Yeah.
Why? Because it shows weakness. And so unless we trust somebody, which is usually our coach, we're going to say, we good. I'm all right. How your grades? They're all right. They're good, but he got 2 F's and 5 D's. And a lot of our kids struggle, or they do the bare minimum to get by, or they pass with D's, which won't get them into college. So their career is over at the age of 18. So we, at Fort Wayne Community Schools, we have built an infrastructure that supports athletes through their journey. We have student academic advisors that just solely follows athletes to where if someone is falling through the crack, we can feel it. And that academic advisor provides direct support, where through study tables, or they can stand in the gap and go talk to their peers, their teachers, because sometimes teachers get frustrated with athletes. Sometimes our athletes aren't the most studious in the class and they're disruptive, and then next thing you know, you hear their name on a PA, they scored 25 points and they're leading our school. And so
and I kind of get that though, because when I was coaching, the first thing that teachers would do, they would call me before they called the parent. Because they knew I had the carrot, I had something that would make that kid want to study. And so 2 things I'm hearing you saying also is, this almost sounds like when I was in college.
Exactly.
Because you had an advisor.
Yes.
You had 2 advisors. You had an academic advisor, depending on what you were majoring in, and then you also had an advisor for whatever sport you played, and they followed you to make sure that you were doing the things.
Yep.
So to start these kids early, because when I was coaching, I always addressed my kids as student athletes,
Yes.
and I let them understand what the student came first.
Right.
And so this sounds like a great program, and the fact that you're getting them start early to adjust to knowing what's going to happen. Because a lot of kids, when they leave high school, they don't realize that college sports is a business. 100%. And it's really changing now with the NIL and all that going on. So
it's an investment.
Right. Yeah. But I know we talked about football, and I know you guys have done some things years back with the basketball programs that you started the elementary. I think me and you had talked about this. What other sports? So you're going to incorporate all the sports at some point. Is that correct?
The goal is for every team sport offer, we'll have a pipeline designated for that. But each team sport is a different market.
Right.
So my approach to it is more of a business approach and catering to that particular market. Tennis players, they're a different type of player.
Right.
Compared to a football player, they need to be talked to and trained differently. Whether it be lifting weights, and I'm a strong advocate for kids get into strength and training and sports performance, because you never really know how your body's going to ultimately develop, compared to just being, a lay athlete who just goes off their raw ability.
Yeah.
Right.
So what about the relationship that some of these kids have with the PAL and the Metro? How is that going to be? I know it's going to be a hard sell, because they've been around these kids for a long time.
Yes.
And just to jump ship,
Yes.
just like that, I think it's going to take a couple.
With Metro, their programming is in the summer. Our role in this is not to replace anything, but it will be to make sure that we are taking care of the kids that are on our plate. I'm not worried about the elite athlete, honestly, with these pipelines. What I'm worried about in that bell curve is the 60 to 65% of the kids that get overlooked, don't play Metro, don't play PAL, that would love to come out, but maybe they just need to be introduced to something a little bit more. So like with football, we will have different levels.
That makes sense.
First and second grade, you're playing flag, introductory. Third and fourth grade, it's prep for tackle. We're teaching you how to fall, tackle. It's full equipment, but we're not going to go to the ground as far as tackling. Fifth and sixth grade will be combined. It's going to be rookie tackle ball, which can be modified. And then it'll be our traditional seventh and eighth grade middle school ball. Along with that, we're going to have the flag offering as well.
Okay.
A lot of our families who aren't exposed to football are interested, but don't want to put their kid in full contact.
And plus, you got the girls, female.
I see Taya over there. She's like she was back in high school again. She wanted to jump
Hey,
on the flag.
I would have definitely played flag football back in the day. It's great that you mentioned that as well, because they introduced flag football to our SAC. And so as you mentioned, that's a great point. And another question that I have for you is, kind of how do you think this will change the infrastructure of our coaching dynamic within the program? Like you mentioned, building that student athlete relationship. Do you think this will in the future kind of change the way that coaches are kind of, assessed through the pipeline?
Right. This movement is to spark change. It's to educate our families on sports, not just particular football. But at the biggest point of it, coaching wise, and even with Metro and PAL, we would love for those Metro coaches and those PAL coaches to come and help us in this journey as well. And particularly with Metro, their program is in the summer. We have quite a few interests from coaches, because I've been a coach for a long time. I remember growing up, I always wanted to be the head football coach. A lot of our individuals in the community don't have that opportunity. This is a gateway into allowing that opportunity of a coaching pipeline also through Fort Wayne Community Schools.
I'm glad you said that, man, because it's been a lot of rumors and a lot of talk in the community about the separation, how, the Metro and the PAL was going to be done, and, and they've been in the community over 50 years. And they've been a part of our culture and our lives, to where, I think it still is needed, but we also need change. So I applaud you, for, the things you say.
I'm a Prince Chapman Charger. Prince Chapman lived down the street from me. I used to get in the back of his truck. Well, actually, I had to walk to practice. But we used to get in his truck to go to the game. My sons play Metro. My nephews play Metro. It is a pillar in our community. But this is beyond that. This is for the evolution of the sport, with the wholeness of education aligned with it.
You said something earlier about giving someone a chance to coach football that they might not ever have a chance, or even just not just football, any sport. And I look at it now. My senior year in high school, when I played football at Harding, we played Southside, and that year, man, I can't think of John's last name. He was the first black coach in the city of Fort Wayne. Head football coach, and then we kind of didn't have any. Now you look at the prime SAC schools. You look at Wayne, new head black coach. You look at Northside, black coach.
Southside.
Northrop, Southside. These things are changing, and
Yes.
which is giving people opportunity to coach. So, like you said, if you can bring in some of the Metro coaches when their season is over with to help these other coaches, because it sounds like just say for football, and correct me if I'm wrong, the head coach of that school will basically have ownership of that whole program.
The whole
Is that
pipeline.
correct? And so
Yes.
they be the one they'll choose the coaches, they'll choose the basically how the program and how they train and all that also.
With football, we're using data and science as our base, our foundation.
Okay.
We want to get away from just throwing helmets on kids without properly training them how to. I remember I'm a football guy. I played football my mom was a Bears fan. I'm a Bears fan.
Steelers.
And I know you're a football guy because when I was coaching, we was playing in the city league. Your Miami team beat me a couple of times. Going to the championship. Now, it was some bad calls, but we ain't gonna get on that.
You got us a couple times. Nobody wanted to play you. Low-key.
And I'm a basketball advocate, so
Got clueless what they thought.
that's a whole nother realm over there.
But we also will have a pipeline for basketball as well. But the head coach will also be assisting in the hiring. They'll be held accountable of finding the right individuals to fit their program.
That's good.
With the baseline of using USA Football as a guide to assess and evaluate athletes. The main reason is due to you have a lot of kids that are interested but have no experience, to where you can have you have 2 fourth graders, one with some experience, one with none. You might have a 4th grader that's 5'2" and 3'5".
Yeah. Right.
So to safely, implement proper instruction, but more importantly, a great experience as they play the game. And with the head coach and accessibility to the head coach, I remember I met Grady Pruitt when I was in middle school. My whole family went to Wayne. I almost went to Southside just because of Grady Pruitt and how he presented himself and how he stood as a prominent figure. But my family was going to kill me if I went to Southside. But so the role of the high school head coach is unmeasurable of the influence that they will have. And, a lot of our kids, athletes travel. Yeah. They will travel in heartbeat.
Yeah, I think that's what goes on now. That the coaches that's in position right now, you got a lot of young men following them just because they know what they bring to the table, and which is a positive.
And that's kind of what we're trying to tune in. I think with kind of this program that you're talking about is kind of preventing that movement, to kind of create a solidified program.
So how long is this going to take? Is this going to just overnight, or is this going to take a couple of years, or?
Snap of a finger?
Yeah.
Right now, the priority will be football, and second will be wrestling, boys and girls. So it would be traditional football as well as flag football. Fastest growing sport. Got to give a shout out to Nevaeh Parker. She was the first girl in the state of Indiana to receive a scholarship to play girls flag at the collegiate level. Fort Wayne Community Schools is the only district in the state that has allowed all their schools to have a girls flag team. As of now, we have 3 girls from this fall who receive scholarships to go play college.
That's good.
So we have to make sure that we are providing opportunities and can't be scared to change. There's nothing wrong with changing. And if it's not the right path, make it adjust. But if we will do a disservice to our community, to our families, to our kids as a whole if we don't attempt. We have to push the needle. We have to hold each other accountable. And if it's not aligning, We can't be scared to go the other way.
Yes.
Change is good.
Yes. And do you think kind of, how this is working, kind of what I'm hearing, with the high school and the middle school and the elementary, how do you kind of plan, is this going to look like a varsity and a JV process? Are teams going to be practicing together, 9th through 12th grade? Are they going to be toning in together 1st through 5th grade? How is that process going to kind of work with this program?
It will be, I have no, okay.
That's a tough one.
This is not easy. I'll tell you that much. Football, we plan on having the season, fall season starting this season, or we plan on starting this fall for football. I can't lie to you. It's a lot of moving parts. We will be utilizing a lot of our fields. We can have anywhere from 500 kids to 5,000 kids.
Yeah.
But the goal is, and that would be an awesome problem.
Right.
We do not want to turn away any kid that has the interest of wanting to play. Too many times people get deferred because of the elite athletes getting all the attention, but it's not what it's for.
Yeah.
We're going to modernize the teams, so it's not a huge team. So like for flag, we're going to limit it to 5 people on one team.
Okay.
So that means we need coaches.
Yes.
We need an abundance of coaches.
Yeah. I was going to ask that.
positions.
At starting on, we will look for volunteers and people who will, in particular at the lower levels. As we get in the upper levels, yes, there will be opportunities for other positions that's to help with the infrastructure. But I believe within 2 to 3 years, this will change the climate and it'll become a norm. And
That's
the
excellent.
sky's the limit. I believe we'll have the largest youth program in the state within 3 years, and then probably the largest in 5 years, the Midwest.
Yeah, this been needed a long time ago, because around us, everybody has been doing it forever.
Yes, yeah.
And now we get an opportunity to show what we could do now. If we have our kids from first grade all the way to graduation.
No one wanted, I'll go to basketball. In the past, nobody wanted to play at Fort Wayne School. No one. So when we had contracts go out, they denied them for most part because they did not want to take that whooping. But now, our surrounding schools, they're inviting us to come play there because they know they can compete. Why is that? Because they've been playing together from the time they was in 3rd grade and now in 11th. They have an expectation from the time they went to elementary school that they're going to be at this place and we are all going to play together.
Absolutely.
Why can't we do that?
Yes.
Because we're too large?
Yeah.
Or are we too scared to do it?
Right.
Yes. And I think that's a great stance that you said, in terms of, are we too large? Or are we too scared to do it? And this is a great point for you to take a stand on this and for our community. Like I said, I just think this is amazing for what you're doing. And I'm definitely glad that you were able to, kind of explain this, to our viewers, to kind of clear some things up with what's going on, and also to help promote this process, invite people in, invite coaches. We're looking for volunteers in this. If you know sports, if you've played sports in the past, come on out, help the youth. This is all about helping our community, as you said, helping our youth grow so we become a dominant force just like other cities in America.
Is there some kind of information that you could give to the audience about who to get in contact with?
If you are interested in coaching or interested in getting your son or daughter in this program, please reach out to your feeder program. Call the main office at Wayne High School, Southside High School, Northside, Snyder, and Northrop. My sons go to Northrop. So I won't give direct numbers on this line, but please reach out to those schools, and they'll be able to assist you to their athletic department to give you more information.
That's amazing. And, kind of taking it to Coach Ayers, kind of what you said about Metro and Pal and, kind of what they've done for the community for the past 50 years. And it's been amazing. Can you kind of talk about their success in our community and, kind of what they've done and how this is kind of going to promote that growth for these young athletes?
Well, I could just say we was one of the ones that got started. You know, we was on the field first, and I knew what it did for me as an individual, as a young person who didn't have a father figure, and we had a lot of our coaches as our father figure. It took many of us to the next level. You know, when we got down with Metro or Old Fort Wide League or whatever you want to call it, when we went to the middle school and to the high school level, we was dominant because of what we was taught, you know, at that level. And then it continued on. It goes, you know, we got so many NFL players in the NFL now that just didn't exist before. So we got, I think Metro and Powell, I would even use Powell as the same. The respect and the commitment that the coaches gave our youth and, you know, what we give to them is a father figure or uncle or, you know, a mentor. And I think that was the most important thing. And I didn't want to lose in our community that mentorship from our community, from our black leaders, our young black leaders, just be honest about it. Because our kids walk that walk all the time. You know, they see us and then they want to follow what we do. So I think Metro is a wonderful program. It's been around for many, many years, and I'm glad to hear that you guys are really working together to continue to keep it together, man, because I just think it's important for the ones who don't play school ball, you know, so.
You know, and Coach Stevens, kind of like we were talking about, you know, earlier before the set, you know, kind of talking about how important it was to play against, you know, sometimes 9-year-olds playing against 13-year-olds and 10-year-olds playing against 12-year-olds, and how that kind of creates that mental toughness that promotes these kids to the next level and gives them that edge. How do you think Metro and Powell, you know, as you grew up, played a role in that?
Oh, it definitely played a huge role. I know Metro is, you know, a lot different from when I started. Like we were speaking earlier, when I started, the initial year wasn't even called Metro yet. It was a different name.
The Big M.
Yeah, so when there was 4 teams, the Big M, which was McCulloch, Weiser Park, Old Fort, and then I played, well, both me and Mike played for Kiwanis Steelers, and Kiwanis was a Y that was out on the west side of town.
West side,
and so there was just one league, kind of like when we talk about when sports and basketball used to be just one division. Well, if you were 9 and you were 13, you all played on the same team. Yeah. There was no Pee Wee, junior varsity, whatever. Yeah. But what it did was it definitely showed you toughness.
Yeah.
You know, plus, you know, with me a lot of times, we had to walk to the practices. Mm. You know, I lived over on Harmer Street, and we walked all the way over to McCormick to practice. Yeah. And we crossed the train tracks and all that stuff, you know, as a kid having fun, throw a rock in the practice. But, you know, my buddies would be like, hey, I didn't want to look bad in front of my buddy, so I had to stand up. I had to be tougher. And I think Mike had brought it up also. You know, Coach H.C. Story was my coach, and, you know, God rest his soul.
Best ever.
But I never forgot about him.
Yeah.
I never forgot about those coaches. I never forgot about the guys that I played with. You know, so it did what it needed to do for the community, especially early on, where we didn't have you either played PAL or you played Metro, and heck, there was a couple of years where we would play PAL teams.
Exactly.
You know, I had one year we played Rod Woodson's team, and we had to play Sim Nelson's team, and we didn't have a weight limit back then, so couldn't nobody tackle Sim Nelson.
Right.
And both of those guys went to the NFL.
Yeah.
So and then and Mike and I were talking the year where we combined our team, Old Fort and Kiwanis Steelers, and we went and played a team from Joliet, Illinois. Got on the bus. First time I'd ever been on a
ever traveled.
Yes, on the bus. You know, we got on the bus. I think Dr. Stovall had a lot to do with helping that also. And we got on the bus and we went and played them, and then they came back and played us. So, you know, I'll be 60 this year, and I still have those memories.
Yeah.
And I should have went up in the attic to see if I could still find the broken trophies that
I still got
back
mine.
then.
I still got mine. They might not be as dusty as yours, though.
That is true. But it made me want to be a coach. It made me want to play high school football, and even when I got to junior high.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I wanted to carry on. And you brought up the fact that heck, I remember being young, going to when we moved, and I went to Southwick, and every year we went to Harding basketball camp, and it was like you knew you were going to be a Hawk.
Yeah.
From third grade on up, every year you knew that's what you were going to do.
Yeah.
So I think this is what we had kind of lost that.
Yeah.
And is it a coincidence that you guys are coming out with this now that they come out with the IHSAA has come out with the new transfer rule?
Timing is everything. But education is under attack right now.
Yeah.
With the new leadership, whether it be at the White House or from the government, we really need to take onus and pay attention to what's going on.
Yes, sir.
Right now, the public schools are being attacked from many different angles, and the front attack is to bleed them financially.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest way that we can retain finances is to make sure that we keep our kids in the place they need to be and not bust out somewhere else.
Bingo.
Athletics is a great way to bring morale to a community, to a school, to families. When I went to Wayne and we were successful, it's packed with people.
Yeah.
And you go to basketball games, it's just packed. And
The SAC tournaments.
Man.
You couldn't even get in.
Miss all that.
Man.
We got to get that back.
Man.
Yeah. Come on, director.
I'm charging for Wayne Community Schools. That's but there's so much that we miss out when we just push aside, or just as a second thought of what we take for granted, and that is the public sector that adheres to the need of so many people who, if we aren't here, would never get that. So with the attack on public schools, we also have to adjust, whether it be through how we educate or how we implement athletics as a whole.
Yeah.
We have to stay above the curve, or we're going to get swept under the rug.
I like what you're saying, and I think that we need to be, I'm talking about adults now, more mentors to our youth, and to the parents need to be more involved with what's going on and understanding what you guys are trying to bring, and it's not nothing negative. It's all about positive and making a difference in our youth's lives. And I think we all, even in the audience, need to understand that this ain't a negative thing. This is a positive thing.
Absolutely.
And that what you guys are trying to do is make a difference in our kids' lives, because it's kind of hard out there. It's kind of scary out there.
Yes.
So if you get more males in our boys' lives around them all the time, I think that would change the way our kids are growing up, because it's really getting kind of scary. So.
Well, I just wanted to say we appreciate you, man. You gave us some great knowledge and information today. And for those of you that are out there that are watching either on YouTube or Facebook, remember that you could to like, share, and subscribe to Respect the Game through our Neutral Voices, either through YouTube or Facebook. So.
Absolutely. And, I would just like to take the time to give a shout out to all of our Metro and our PAL coaches in the community, and for what you've done for our younger athletes. It's been amazing. And, your appreciation and foundation definitely does not go unnoticed. I also want to take the time to say thank you to our special guest, Coach Tharp, for coming on our show today to kind of, explain to us what's going on with this developmental league, kind of in our school program. I think it's a great program. I think it's definitely taking a positive move forward, like you said, with that education and that athletic piece that will promote that college aspect in all of this.
Yes.
And so I think that's amazing. And so, thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in today. My name is Taya Andrews.
And I'm Coach Ayers.
Coach Bruce Stevens.
Coach Tharp.
All right. And Coach Ayers, what do we always say before we leave the set?
Always protect your mind.